What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken, and today, guys, I am going to be reviewing not one, not two, but three Kino Lorber titles on 4K. So I've been looking at my collection recently, and I've been ashamed of myself. I'm getting all of these like new titles in just all the time, and you know, some I get to when they come out, some I don't, but the ones that I let pass by, it feels like I just never get to them. So I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna take a stand. I don't care if it came out a year ago, I don't care if it came out 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, I don't care. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna pick out three Kino Lorber titles, and I'm gonna review these things. I'm gonna watch them and I'm gonna talk about them with you guys. But I think they're worth still talking about and shedding some light on. Maybe you don't know about these titles or whatever, and maybe you don't know how great they are because nobody talked about them. I don't know. So we're going to talk about them here today. I'm rambling already, guys. I'm sorry. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We talk physical media on this channel. That's what we do, guys. You see all this stuff behind me right there? That's what we talk about. Hit the subscribe button. Also hit the like button, and then comment down below of all these movies that we're getting ready to talk about. If you have any comments on them, let me know in the comment section below. And also, if you're going to get them based on my recommendation, I'll be leaving the links for all of these down below in the description. They will be Amazon affiliate links, guys. So if you use those, you will be supporting the channel. And I would appreciate that, okay? You don't have to. If you're like, screw this guy trying to use Amazon affiliate links, I'm not going to support him. Screw him. You know, that's fine. Look, you don't have to use them, okay? But they're down there in case you do. All right, so yeah, the three movies that we're going to talk about, I'm going to go ahead and leave a broad, just give you the broad overview of the video. You know, maybe you already clicked off by now. I don't know. I'm a crazy person, guys. If you guys are first discovering me here, I'm a crazy person that loves movies and loves physical media. That's what I do. This is going to be a different kind of video. The hard target we're talking about here today. We're also talking Marathon Man with freaking Dustin Hoffman. And we're talking about Mother Effin' 12 Angry Men with Henry Fonda. These are the movies that I watched over the past couple of days. All right, let's get into it. Hard Target with Jean-Claude Van Damme. So believe it or not, Jean-Claude is a real blind spot for me. I've seen Street Fighter, and I've seen the movie he did with Dolph Lundgren, Universal Soldier. I watched that on 4K last year when the Steelbook came out. So this is the third Jean-Claude Van Damme movie that I have ever seen. And I know he's a big martial arts action star from the 80s and the 90s, and everybody loves Jean-Claude. There's a lot of his movies I still need to dive into, but I remember I have some nostalgia for Street Fighter. I haven't seen it in a very long time. And Universal Soldier, like, honestly, I liked it okay, but it really wasn't my jam. This movie was freaking awesome, though. I love this movie from start to finish. Like, this is getting me in. Now I want to watch Bloodsport. I want to watch Double Team. I want to watch all the movies that Jean-Claude's known for now after seeing this movie, because this was freaking great. But the thing I'm kind of worried about was the greatness John Woo, because I love John Woo movies. I love Broken Arrow. I love Face Off, Mission Impossible 2. I know everybody hates that one. I like that one. And I think he's done one other movie that I really like. But yeah, I'm a big fan of John Woo and his filmography. And this movie was just freaking awesome. So Jean-Claude doesn't really get a chance to like showcase his personality and charisma that much in Universal Soldier. So I didn't really get to see that in there. But in this movie, he definitely has a swagger to him. And he's courting and protecting a young lady in this film. And they kind of have a chemistry and attraction to each other. And she's great in the movie as well. And I love, like, this has all brand new special features in it as well. I watched every single one of them, and my favorite one was the one with her. I thought her interview was freaking awesome. Like, she just felt like so honest and genuine and like grateful to be a part of this movie, which I always think is super awesome. But the actress name is Yancey Butler, but that was a great interview with her. She had tons of really good stories. One in particular that was really funny about Wilford Brimley, who's also in this movie. But I really love Jean-Claude Van Damme. Just some terrific like action set pieces in this movie. Like, the last 30 minutes is just like all action set piece and gunplay and explosions and Jean-Claude jump kicking people. Like, it was awesome. Like, I've heard great things about this movie. The motorcycle like chase scene's awesome. And this absolutely delivered. Lance Hendrickson, though, like as the villain, like such a great villain. So I absolutely just love this movie. I did not expect to like it. Like, I threw it on. I'm like, oh, this is going to be like a silly action film that I'm just going to get through. But I was just so drawn into it. And Jean-Claude, I just loved every moment of this movie. But getting into the transfer, like the 4K picture quality on this, like this is a 4K UHD. It had Dolby Vision. And my God, like this looked excellent. Like Kino Lorber has really tapped in and figured out like how to do great 4K transfers, because almost every single one that I've seen from them just looks fantastic. Like, and this was top tier. This is one of the best 4Ks that I've seen. It kind of reminded me like of the quality of it. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Roadhouse. Like it was just, it had some grain, like it had a good grain structure to it, but it wasn't distracting at all. But it was just, the picture quality was super clean and crisp and clear. There's tons of like outdoor setting, and you see the greenery, the trees. There's one, like it's set in New Orleans, so you have the New Orleans swamp and the New Orleans like setting to it. But all the like the facial detail, like the close-ups on Jean-Claude, like all that stuff just looked fantastic. Like especially when you compare it to the Blu-ray. So flat, so muted, but when you add in that HDR, it really enhances those colors and that picture quality and that depth to this. And I thought it was great. The black levels were fantastic, and the opening scenes at night, all that looked great, but just it was so crisp and clear. Like I couldn't get over just how great that picture quality was in this. Kino Lorber really did a great job. I got to talk about the snake scene though real quick. I almost forgot. But they're in the swampy area, and it's towards the end of the movie, but it's like he doesn't want to tell her that there's a snake behind her. And he kind of like goes in like he's going to kiss her because he doesn't want to scare her. And then he grabs the snake. And I've seen this scene before, and I've seen people talk about this scene, but it was so awesome just getting to experience it. But he grabs the snake, it's hissing at him, and then he just freaking punches it in the face. He punches Jean-Claude punches a snake. I almost said face in a snake. He punches a snake in the face, just like dead on. And in any other movie, like that almost felt like it was a spoof, like in the actual movie itself. In any other movie, that would be played for comedy, but he does it like so seriously, you buy into it, and it's like, okay, Jean-Claude just punched that snake in the face. I took that seriously. That's a real thing that happened, and that's not ridiculous at all. And then the snake head just kind of goes over. It was awesome, though. I love this movie. I hope you guys can tell I love this movie, and I was extremely happy with it. Now, guys, and that was just Hard Target. Let me get into this movie, because this movie really, I was taken aback by this film. I was actually taken aback about both of these movies, but Marathon Man with Dustin Hoffman is freaking fantastic. Like, what an excellent thriller. Like, look, there's some movies that people tell you like they're great, they're good, they're awesome, but you're not exactly sure like if your tastes align. I heard from many people that this movie was great, and there's some movies, like older movies, I can watch and I can recognize their greatness, but at the end of the day, I wasn't like truly engaged in it. This movie, like from start to finish, I was completely just wrapped up and just enamored with everything that was happening in this film. Like this was so engaging, so thrilling. Like you have Dustin Hoffman, he plays a student, his brother played by Roy Scheider, who is Brody, Chief Brody from Jaws in this film. This is actually in 1976, 1 year after Jaws came out, so it was cool to see him in another type of role. He was fantastic as his brother, but you have Dustin Hoffman and his family's kind of wrapped up in some political stuff. We'll say that there's some things going on involving Nazis. But as the story progresses, like you think you know what's going on, but you don't really know what's going on. And some stuff is kind of predictable, but other stuff isn't. But there's some really great twists and turns like all throughout this movie. And like I said, just when you think you have it figured out and you know what's going to happen, the story just completely flips it on its head and it just goes in a wildly different direction. And the villain in this movie, played by Laurence Olivier, as I think is how you pronounce his name, is fantastic. Like there's a sequence with him and Dustin Hoffman and the whole like is it safe scene, which he like repeats over and over again, which is actually on the back of this 4K, and I looked at it and I was like, I didn't know what it meant, but what a scene that was. Like I watched the Dentist movies earlier this year that Vestron Video put out. You can't tell me they didn't have some kind of inspiration from his character in this movie, the character of Zell. In this movie, they had to be inspired by him, because there's a whole sequence where he's torturing Dustin Hoffman by like drilling into his teeth, and it's such a very like tense and grotesque scene. It doesn't take it to the places that the Dentist does, but like it's painful to watch. So like any kind of dentist stuff like that, like teeth torture, is very painful to watch. You also had Martha Keller, I think is her name. She was also in Black Sunday, which Arrow Video just put out, and I watched that movie. movie. I didn't really get a chance to talk about it on the channel, but really enjoyed that movie and her performance. And she was also great in this, and her and Dustin Hoffman just had some great chemistry with each other. But another interesting thing about this is that Dustin Hoffman played a college student in this movie, and they talked about this in the special features, but he was damn near 40 when he played a college student, but they just thought he looked young enough to play a college student in this movie. So I thought that that was pretty interesting. The movie's a little bit over 2 hours, but it does not feel its length. Like, it's a really good movie that flies by, and you're engaged the entire time in all the characters in the story. And I just thought it was a really well done movie. It was directed by John Schlesinger, which I'm not sure if I've seen anything else he's done. Now, I have to look up him and his filmography, but he did a fantastic job directing this movie. But getting into the actual like 4K picture quality, another banger from Kino Lorber. They did a fantastic job on this one. And I've said it before, like when it comes to like movies in the 70s on 4K, they're always like extremely grainy for some reason. And they always have like moments of just not looking the best. But with this, again, like Hard Target, they cleaned this up to like perfection. Like, all of this was so crystal clear. It all looked amazing. So yeah, I can't say enough good things about this 4K. It just looked fantastic. Now, getting into the special features, there are two special features that are both about a half an hour in length, but they're not new. One of them's very old, from like back when the movie came out. It's a making of. And then one of them's a little newer. I imagine that it came out probably when the DVD came out. But there's a new audio commentary with film historians Steve Mitchell and Nathaniel Thompson. So that is something new that they added in here. But what a 4K, what a movie. I absolutely loved Marathon Man. Excellent movie. And if we're giving scores here, I forgot to give my score on Hard Target. I give it a 4 out of a 5. And Marathon Man, I would honestly give a 4.5 out of 5. It was damn near perfect for me. But let's get into, God, I've been hearing about this movie for such a long time. Everybody hypes this up. Everybody, when you hype up a movie like for so long, and so many people hype it up and everybody calls it one of the greatest movies of all time, you kind of wonder to yourself, like, is this going to live up to the hype? Because oftentimes when a movie's built up to that level, it doesn't quite live up to the expectations. But I'm telling you right now, if you haven't seen 12 Angry Men, it absolutely does. Like, I get it now. I totally get why this movie is so beloved. It's because the themes and the subject matter and the things that are talked about in this movie are still so relevant today. And it doesn't, the thing about this movie, when you do a movie that's so like based in characters and just themes of morality and racism and social economical status, and all of these themes are still relevant, like that, because these things don't go away. They're always just permeating throughout our entire like existence and civilization and community. Like, these are all themes that we still like argue about and debate to this day. And this whole movie is just about, and I'm actually on jury duty right now. Like, I'm going through jury duty, and I haven't actually been called up to be on a trial yet, but the themes that they talk about in this movie, like they actually talked about in the courtroom that I've been to. Like, I've been 3 times just to kind of sit out there and be picked in. Anyway, that's irrelevant, but I've been sitting in jury duty in the courtrooms. I've heard the lawyers and the judge talk about some of the things that they talk about in this movie. The fact that they brought these 12 jurors in one room and they had to either convict this young boy of murder or set him free, guilty or not guilty. 12 men had to unanimously decide that together as a group. And in the very beginning of this movie, you have 11-1. 11 people voted guilty and 1 person voted not guilty, and that is Henry Fonda, who voted not guilty. So throughout this entire film, I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but he has to kind of just defend his position as to why he thinks. And he doesn't even really, that's the whole thing in this movie. He doesn't even like think that he's not guilty. He just doesn't think that he's guilty. He wants to have the conversation. He doesn't know. And the fact that he doesn't know, the fact that they are going to send this kid to death, he just can't, in his good consciousness, just send this boy to death without actually knowing if he did it or not. So they have to talk about it, and they talk through it the entire movie. And you would think that, you know, a movie set in one location with 12 people just in a room, that's the whole setting, guys. You have the beginning in the courtroom, and at the end they're outside the courthouse. But the rest of this movie is in this one room, and I love one location movies. I just absolutely love it. Kind of like a play. I just really get engaged and into it. One room. It's all like in real time as well. Like everything's happening. There's no real like cuts, like actual like time cuts in this film. It's just 12 men in a room having to figure this situation out. It's a hot summer day, so they're all like sweating and stuff as well, which just adds to the agitation. And at one point it's like storming, like when they're really getting into it, so that adds to it. But such a great movie, directed by Sidney Lumet, which this was his first film that he ever directed. And my God, what a movie, guys. Like I said, you would think that it would be boring, just 12 people sitting in a room and talking the whole time. But it's so engaging because everything that they talk about and everything that they're talking through, like you can just understand every single person's point of view, even the people that you don't like, that don't present their arguments in the most likable way. You resonate with every single person. Like it feels like in this movie, at least for me when I'm watching it, I've been in the position of every single person in this movie. I've felt the way that every single person in this movie has felt with all of their own unique perspectives. I felt that way. I've thought that way before. And it's so like interesting how they bring all of those ideas and those thought processes together. And even though there's a resolution to the movie, it's not necessarily clear. It's not necessarily like tied into a bow. You still have questions as to, did they do the right thing? Did they do the right thing? And that's what makes this movie so extremely powerful to me. So I loved this movie. And again, it's a movie that's been hyped up to the moon, but I can completely understand why. This to me is a 5 out of 5, a masterpiece of a movie. So just love this movie so much. Henry Fonda was really just fantastic in this film. So yeah, I don't know why. I have the Criterion. I've had it for 2 years. I don't know why it took me so damn long to watch this movie. But I finally did, and I'm so glad that I did because I loved it so much. And I was just, again, completely engaging. It's 96 minutes, so it's not really long, but just so into this movie and everybody in the conversations the entire time. It is not boring, not one bit, so don't think that it is. Such a great movie. You have to see this movie. It's one of the most important movies ever made. And this 4K, honestly, just looked fantastic. It's a black and white 4K. You know how I feel about black and white 4Ks if you've been watching the channel for any length of time. I think that honestly, there's sometimes when I watch a very good black and white 4K transfer, which this was, that I think that I like it better than a color 4K transfer. Like, it just looked immaculate, so detailed. It's so impressive. This movie is from 1955. And you're watching it, and you're like, you know that people back in 1955 didn't get to experience it in the way that we're getting to experience it. They didn't get to see the sweat beads coming off of their faces as the anger just ratchets up inside of them, as they get angrier, as it gets hotter in the room, and that sweat rolling down their faces. They didn't get to see that, and that adds to the movie so much. So this 4K is just so great, and you can just see every bead of sweat, all of the wrinkles, everything, just the demeanor of everybody, but the contrast and the black levels just looked fantastic. And it's not like a real showy movie. It's just in one location, guys. It's just in a room. But that room looked incredible. Just everything in the background looked incredible. But all the people, as they close-up shot on everybody's faces, there's so many stunning shots and cinematography in this movie. The close-ups, like on the old man in particular, like it felt like they kept trying to do the real close-ups on the old man. Cannot recommend this 4K enough. This is currently, guys, right now, $21.64 on Amazon. It's at a great deal. You'll probably still get it with the slipcover. Cannot recommend it enough. Now, there's a Criterion out there as well, and I've got it right here. I'm pretty sure that this one doesn't have all of the special features that are in this. At least I'm not seeing it from the back right here. But what this does have is the remake directed by William Friedkin from 1997. So that's one thing that this also has. You get two movies in this one 4K. And right now, guys, it's $21.64. So you get an all-time classic in 4K that looks great. Dolby Vision HDR, all the bells and whistles. You get a new audio commentary as well. You get some special features, and you get a whole nother movie with this edition. But yeah, the Criterion is available as well. You just need to see this movie. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen in my entire life. I absolutely love the movie. But that's my review, guys, on all three of these spectacular Kino Lorbers. I would recommend any one of these to add to your collection. So I've got so many other 4Ks that I'm looking forward to watching soon. Like Kino Lorber is just doing a fantastic job in 4K UHD. So I thought I would highlight that here today. So definitely, guys, if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, comment down below whatever you want to comment about these 3 movies. Turn on the bell notifications and follow me on all my social media accounts. Those links are down below in the description, and we'll see you next time.